load up the truck and get on the road. Morning everybody, welcome back to Mindful Homestead. Jack here. Got a lot of new subscribers to the channel. Thank you much for subscribing. And today we're going on a little bit of an adventure. We raise forest pastured pork out in the back behind me. You can't really see it. It's up over the garage there. But we raise forest pastured pork, and part of what we do to supplement the feed for our forest pastured pork is we give them apples from local backyards, other homesteads, things like that. So what I'm doing today is I'm going out to a few of the places that I've talked to in the past, people that have said, yes, you can come onto our property and collect our apples, and I'm gonna pick up some apples for the pigs. So tools we'll need for this, I will need a rake, I'll need a bucket, I'll need a tarp, and then I'll need a bunch of feed sacks to put the apples in after you'll see the process as I do it. The tarp and the feed bags I use go inside the truck because I've tried to stuff them in the bucket before in the bed. I've played that game and it just doesn't work out. They always fly out somehow. So you might ask why we're doing it this way. Picking apples from homeowners that we found via Craigslist or Facebook Marketplace or something like that. And the reason why is this: a lot of commercial orchards, they spray their fruit with pesticides and things like that, and we're not washing these apples before we give them to the pigs. There's a lot of debate out there around whether or not various pesticides are good or washed off by rain and things like that. And technically feeding pigs apples and fruit that have been sprayed with pesticides, there's no rule against that, but we want to be as natural as possible. And you know, if we were going around to commercial orchards and just picking up their drops, even though it would be a lot easier and I could get a lot more apples in one place, I don't know what's been sprayed on those apples. Versus here, I know in talking to homeowners, they don't spray. The apples are as natural as they can get. They're ugly, they're wormy, but that doesn't hurt the pigs. It's just extra protein for them. So that's why we do it this way. So the technique here is to get your apples all lumped up, then kind of rake them onto the tarp. And once they're on the tarp, into the bucket they go. So once you have them in the bucket, feed bags fit perfectly right over these kitty litter containers. And just kind of hook that on there. Hold it with your hands. Flip it over. That's it, half a 50-pound bag full of apples. Let's go do all the other trees now. If you have a tree like this one behind me, where there's not a lot of apples on the ground, but a lot of apples up in the tree, you can actually take the tarp, set it up underneath it, and just shake the apples right onto the tarp. October, but it's still pretty hot out. All right, we're home. We got 4 bags of apples and like a 5-gallon bucket's worth of apples, that Tidy Cats container I was using. So I'm gonna put everything in the wheelbarrow and we're gonna bring it out to the pigs. We've actually gotten a lot of rain in the last couple days, which is great because we definitely needed it. The water table is super low and we're in the middle of an extreme drought. We're about 12 inches down for the year so far. They're pretty good, huh, guys? So why feed pigs apples at all? Pigs for most of their life, at least where we are, they get grain. They get that grain in addition to anything they find out here in the woods. In the fall time, that would be acorns, beech nuts. In the summertime, that might be blueberries, blueberry bushes, depending on where we put them. Almost always it includes grubs and shrubs and foliage off of the low-lying plants, vegetation that you see here. In the tail end of a pig's growing season, if you will, you hit a point where you call it finishing. And what happens there is what the pigs eat has a pretty heavy impact on the quality of the meat and what's going into it. Apples and corn and things that are very high in carbohydrates at this time of the game are important to a pig because 1, in the natural world, they'd be putting on weight for winter, but 2, because we're getting to processing time, it makes it so that they're starting to put fat on. They're putting that nice fat cap on their back. They're developing a good bit of bacon. And then you've got a little bit of fat that's gonna creep into the intramuscular areas. And those are your pork chops, your shoulders, and things like that. So feeding them their standard grain ration is still really important. You want that protein in there, and that's gonna let them continue to grow. But by giving them apples and giving them corn, we're giving them a much more accessible carbohydrate source to develop that fat and really finish out the pig. It's what we call it. We call it finishing the pig. But in reality, it is finishing the pig. It's getting it ready to put the most delicious piece of meat on the table that you can have. This time of year, the name of the game is fattening them up. As you can see behind me though, we are in a mud pit here in the pig pen. For most of the summer, it's actually been great because of how dry it was. The pigs really had a nice dry area to hang out. There was lots of rooting they could do. There was tons of roots in there that they were just kind of tilling over and eating. It was great for them. But now that it's super muddy in there, it's time to move them. And we're gonna do that by putting them in this area that you see behind me. Not today. I've got to go inside and do some other stuff. I've got some other chores to do here on the homestead, but I think we're going to be tackling that this weekend. So we'll bring you along for that, and then we'll have that video out sometime next week. So that's it. Remember, your key takeaways when you're finishing pork are going to be, you want to give them a high carbohydrate source of feed. Typically that's going to be sugars. It's going to be starches. If you want, you can ferment things, like fermented whole kernel corn is a big one. We finished our pigs on that and beer last year, which was really cool. We also gave them some apples. But you want to give your pigs something in addition to the grain that you've been eating them. You can finish them on grain, but in reality, giving them that little extra kick of getting a little bit of sugar in their diet, obviously you don't want to just give them straight white sugar. You want to give them, you can give them corn, you can give them a bunch of other stuff. That's the kind of stuff you want to be giving them. We don't give our pigs vegetables from the store or fruits from orchards and things like that. Because again, we're not washing it. We don't know what chemicals are on it, and we just don't want to give it to them. I'm not saying it's a bad thing if people do. I'm just saying that's how we choose to do it. Thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button down below if you're not already subscribed to the channel. As always, we hope you're doing well, and have a great day.